You guys got to hear this guy's story. It's wild. You
Tell us.
You guys know who Nick Rekieta is?
We had him on
of course,
years and years ago. He's the attorney who streamed the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial.
Yes,
and
that and the Kyle
Rittenhouse. I don't remember Rittenhouse. Maybe
Kyle Rittenhouse too. He had both of those. He had more viewers than CNN on just on YouTube on his LawTube stream. So Nick Rekieta, also a friend of Dick, and I've done live shows with him before. So he also lives in Minnesota. He's about an hour away from Aaron. So Aaron's married to this chick, this blonde girl, April, and they do a show together. And then they team up. And yep, there's Nick, and that's Aaron's ex-wife, April, and Nick's wife, Kayla. So they meet up at a comedy show, and then they become besties. And now they're all hanging out, the four of them. And the Reketas have kids, and Aaron has kids. And so the kids are hanging out, and they're doing all this stuff. And there's these other podcasters who are speculating that they're swingers and there's drugs involved and all this kind of stuff. And Aaron's going, this is ridiculous, you guys. None of that's going on. A few months go by. All of a sudden, April's off the show. And then another month goes by. And Aaron comes out and goes, all right, guys, I got to confess. April and I are having a divorce. And we've been swinging this whole time. And it turns out April left Aaron. So Aaron's wife, who's the co-host of the show, left to be with Nick and Nick's wife as a thruple.
Thruple.
Yes.
Thruple. I hate
that. Hey, what are you talking about? I hate that.
That's weird.
You don't want to thruple?
He got cucked by Nick Rekieta. He lost his wife to Nick
really
Rekieta.
Oh, the woman who left was married to this other guy.
Yes.
No longer.
Yes,
Kyle,
Aaron's wife left.
You don't want a thruple?
I don't. I think one woman is more than enough.
I'd have a throuple with you guys because I'm the hairiest, which means
I don't want to.
I get first right of penetration.
I'd have a throuple with Taylor because he's hairy.
It's disappointing one girl at a time is where I draw the line.
He couldn't stop us. We're too strong.
Throuple with the two ladies you showed a minute ago. No, a throuple seems like ideal, right? Like you could have like two different kinds of ladies. You could have like a fun loving silly girl. That's and true. like a all business provider type lady, like all one very structured and one very loose and devil may care, and this is a very
RPG way to look at this.
So
you just have two women bitching at you.
That's what life is. Life is an RPG. What are we talking about? That's exactly.
No one's envious of the Mormons.
I wouldn't have let one bitch at me. This like 90s sitcom dad version of like a relationship I don't play into. Nobody tells me shit.
Yeah.
That's true. You try and tell Kyle to stop sending people being beheaded. He won't listen.
I'm talking about like a girl. You can't tell me shit. All
right. So
that's true. They're weak and they're short.
So we're just scratching the surface. I'm not going to go into crazy details, but this is where it gets nuts. So we find out that Aaron's wife left him, and Aaron confesses that they were swapping wives, and they were doing all this drugs, and they had coke, and they were doing ecstasy, and all this kind of crazy stuff. Then Nick Rekieta's house gets raided. There's a search warrant. They go in, they find an ounce of cocaine. There's guns that are out. There's children running around. And Nick and his wife and April, who are all there, all go to jail. They lose the kids for a couple of months. And Aaron, yes. And so Aaron's tied to all of this because the police talked to him before the warrant was approved.
Holy cow.
So now there's this huge rivalry. They want to murder each other. You got Nick versus Aaron, and the women are involved and everything.
Dude, that dude's cool as fuck.
So then, cool. Yes.
It's cool as fuck.
So then Aaron...
Let's get him back on.
Aaron's on...
Let's get Nick Rekieta
You should get Nick back on. So then Aaron's on his show with this guy, Gino Bisconte, and Aaron's talk... Do you know Gino?
No.
Okay.
Sounds like an Italian guy.
Hey, Gino.
Proclivities,
He was on Compound Media. Anyway, so he's on a show with Gino Bisconte, and he's talking about how he used to bang Nick's wife, Kayla, and he sends him a nude pic of Kayla live on the show, and he goes, hey, didn't do too bad, did I, huh? Pretty sweet. And Gino's like, okay, which is a weird thing to do, to send a nude of like a girl you used to fuck to your friend.
Is weird.
It's like, yeah, like, all right, whatever, man.
That might be a crime.
Could be.
It is.
As a crime. Yeah.
So he was arrested for a felony for revenge porn. And so now Aaron has a felony. So Nick's dealing with these legal battles with the cocaine and the guns and everything like that. And now Aaron has a felony, and he just went to court yesterday or the day before.
Was it?
It was an
ounce, you said.
ounce. Yeah, it was like 27 grams.
Did it go federal?
Or, not 27. Yeah, it'd be.
He went federal.
I don't think it's federal. No.
I was gonna say like I was in prison with a dude who was an ounce of coke was his deal, and he got a year in the federal prison, I believe, or maybe 18 months. It was something like that.
Was he dealing? Was he transporting?
Yeah.
Okay,
so both simultaneously.
This was all personal use.
I mean, it's hard to argue that with an ounce of cocaine. I promise you. You better have like I tell you, the prosecutor is going to argue that an ounce of, and if you've got any baggies in there, if there's a scale anywhere in there, and I don't even mean like sitting next to it. They dug my kitchen scales out and took all kinds of pictures.
For your ounce of weed.
I did not have an ounce of weed, Taylor.
Or what was the amount?
They said 16 grams.
That's so little.
But that's not. But that's more than there was, because there was 14 grams, I think, that I had like got caught with in the bag. But back home, the reason I was getting that bag, Taylor, is because I was out, fresh out, been out, smoked everything there was, and I scrounged. But somehow they found 2 grams worth of like powder that in my house to like tack on. I think it was something like that.
I thought it was concentrate. Did I make that? I read it.
What I'm saying is like I had 12 or 14 grams. I think it was 14 of concentrate in the bag. But then back home they found like 2 grams of flour, like in a drawer or something, like junk weed that like would have disposed of.
Yeah, like couch cushion powder that they were
But then literally they didn't find like a couple nugs of just weed that I had that were in like another box. So I smoked as soon as I got out. As soon as I got home from jail, I was like, let's smoke all this up.
I thought you were getting tested.
Well, yeah, but I'm gonna test positive no matter what. Like I'm already like this.
He had no body fat. He would pass that
I'm thinking
easy.
Prison. As soon as you got home from jail.
Oh yeah, as soon as I got home from jail, I immediately smoked all the weed that I had left, which was only like 1 bowl or 2 left or something like that. I was like, let's get rid of this. Best way.
So an ounce of cocaine for 3 people. How long does it take 3 people to do an ounce of cocaine? I have no idea.
Do you know, Karl?
They were doing a lot of coke. It probably lasts them a few weeks.
Okay. So then 3 people doing it heavily a few weeks. That is a lot.
So Zach, maybe a couple months, but it depends on how much they're doing. Zach actually posted this in the chase. Says, during a search of Rekieta's home, officers said they found drugs that tested positive for cocaine and ketamine, along with drug paraphernalia. Rekieta and his wife were charged with 2nd-degree drug possession, child endangerment, and a gross misdemeanor firearm charge. Now, I will say that child endangerment has been wiped away.
That's good.
Okay. They got the kids back. Yeah, they got the kids back. Everything's good there. Good. So, as far as we know, they've cleaned up their act, and there's
it seems to me like some people were just doing some cool shit in the confines of their own home, and Johnny Law came a knocking, busting in. I had a good friend who got like swatted, and they busted in, and wouldn't you know it, he's got a big old bag of weed sitting on his table right there, and those charges did not stick because they shouldn't have been.
That's not why they came in, right? Yeah,
it's not why you came in, and the reason you came in was bullshit anyway. You're not gonna. So I was glad that didn't stick, because he had a big old bag of weed. How much was it? Do y'all remember?
I think it was just over an ounce. It wasn't like huge.
Who was it?
White boy. I mean, he had a. Yeah,
an
and they had to give his weed.
Is such
I'm pretty sure
unassuming. Like you can see an ounce of weed on a coffee table and not think it's a big deal. Like it's not, and it's also weed. So maybe I'm biased in that. Like I see a big gallon bag, not even full of weed.
An ounce of weed is quite a lot of weed. Like it's.
I've bought ounces many times before, and it's not an alarming amount of weed.
It's a quart bag full of weed. Like a quart sandwich bag full of weed. Yeah.
I guess I don't know what a quart sandwich bag is.
Like a sandwich bag? Like you put a sandwich in for lunch when you're a kid?
I was trying to picture what it would look like stuffed, and then do a little retroactive analysis to whether or not I've been ripped off in the past on the ounces.
If you don't think an ounce is a lot, you've been ripped off.
White boy had 30
an
grams.
ounce would last me months and months and months.
30 grams.
Now I live in
Zach, see if you can find a picture
Missouri,
of 38 grams of weed, because that little like fix this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like literally Google picture of 38 grams.
But yeah,
It was
to your
30,
point, Kyle, I
Isn't it
felt
28?
yeah. To your point, Kyle, I felt bad for Nick because obviously he had just re-upped. Like he had just scored the night before or something. So they're just like, yeah, all right, we got our stats for the next month. And that's when the cops, they actually had to bust the door down.
What was the reason they went in? Exactly what happened?
Okay, so they did have a search warrant. And yeah, so that's right. Just
I'm not going to believe that. They can't spell it. That's bullshit picture. It's
so they were concerned about the children. There were people at their church who were saying that the kids seemed dirty and they were complaining about being hungry. And so they were worried that there were some issues with that. Yeah, they were worried about issues with that. And so they busted down the door and that's when they found drugs and everything else.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Dirty hungry kids. I don't care for that.
Sound good. Yeah,
Who
I don't like
said
that.
Did the kids say they were hungry and they were visibly dirty, or was it someone trying to nail Nick with this? That was like, oh, the kids are dirty. The kids.
I'm friends with Nick, and I've talked to him directly about this, so I've heard
his kids dirty.
I've heard this side of this. His kids are awesome. They homeschool them. The kids are all very smart, very healthy.
That's my question. Are those kids dirty?
Are they incredibly energetic?
Have you looked under their fingernails?
How do his children smell?
I will say the 9-year-old tested positive in a hair follicle test for cocaine, but that has been thrown out.
But the evidence has, or the charge has.
The charge has, but that did happen.
So was it like
to anybody?
Like a how does that happen? Like, well, or I guess what was the rationalization for like, oh, we got a false positive on a hair test?
They won't say. They won't say why.
Positive.
Yeah, there's no way to say if it's why it's a false positive or if it's a false positive.
They didn't say it was a false positive. They said they weren't charging anymore, almost like they didn't have permission to take the hair.
It does sound like a cool ass kid.
Could you imagine
railing lines before getting on Roblox or whatever the fuck kids do?
They said that the way that this kid tested positive would be like a user who uses pretty heavily on the weekends.
Oh, that's no good, dude.
So I don't think a 9-year-old's doing that much blow. I doubt it.
Yeah,
I have a hard time believing a 9-year-old is railing lines like that after mom and dad go to bed, because mom and dad aren't going to bed early because they're doing a lot of cocaine.
That's true.
There has to be a lot.
His
Imagine how much.
A thruple, right? So he comes from a long line of cool people, Taylor.
A long line of sane, normal people.
Dude, that's sick. Like if you could get a little LDS structure with that too, that's the dream.
I'm going to learn more about this Nick Rekieta situation because it sounds like his kids may not have been doing coke. Could have been a false positive.
I think it was a false positive. Yeah,
maybe a false positive.
I doubt the 9-year-old was hitting rails every weekend. I doubt it.
That would be surprising. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it was in his hair. I don't know. Like
the week. Another gentleman. What's that gentleman's name? The man with the thruple and the cocaine.
I don't think he's welcome here
Nick Rekieta.
Nick Rekieta. That dude's kid's party. He's got a thruple, and that's PK's cool guy of the week. God damn it. That's maybe the month. That's strong. That's strong. He's the PKA guy of the year until someone comes in and replaces him. If you ask me,
right?
I'm bestowing it upon him. I'm capable of doing such. So does Ricky.
You're capable of bestowing it upon him. Yes.